Okay, here we go. Okay, so first let's set our space. Really important thing to do. And anytime any of you want to take advantage and set space when you're here, just shout out. Let your breath do what it does for you. And as it's breathing in and out, be in appreciation for that element of the bodysuit. Notice the sensations of the nostril with the breath. And with intention, bring the focus of that breath, of that air, of that light from beyond our earth, coming into your bodysuit, right down the midline of the body. Let it expand and fill the body like you're the balloon and the air is the helium, and it's all good. If you need to move the body, tighten it, stretch it, to make sure that that light, that life breath goes everywhere, just do that. And then get a sense of the breath going down the legs, right down, out the soles of your feet, roots down into Mother Earth, rooting us down into Mother Earth. And notice the vibrancy of the root system that exists there. Not only the root system of those who are in crystal broadcasting, but are in so many circles. It's almost like a family reunion, and we're meeting our cousins, our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents. All there they are. Let that enriched energy move back up into your bodysuit, activating your tree of life at the tailbone, going right up your spine, filling your spine with the support, the resources of those systems and of Mother Earth. Activating a point at your solar plexus where there is Sophia, the witness discernment, saying, create fearlessly. I'm here. Just create fearlessly. And as your breath and that resource moves up the spine to the top of the spine, the base of the neck, and it spreads out like the branches of a tree, and those tree branches feels the essence of grace moving down, filling you with her presence of heart love, unique to her, for us. We stand and sit on the sacred ground of sovereignty. One nodule, one dewdrop within the web of life and the web of the crystal broadcasters. And all that we do today is done in behalf of the entire web. We are held in the Guardian Circle protocol, us and all connected to us. We are circled with those intentions, that support, that protection and guidance. And so it is. When you're ready, just be back present. Thank you all for being here. So now that we have a circle set, let's presence ourselves into the circle, and we'll just do it by tag. And so I'm going to start with Arlie. And Arlie, when she's complete, she'll say, I'm complete, and then she'll tag the next person. We'll go right around. And where are you on the planet? What do you want to put into the circle field? Up, and Arlie, you'll have to unmute because I muted everybody.
I'm here just outside Wellington, New Zealand. Again, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm bringing enthusiasm, and I still have such a feeling of intense residual joy over the work that we did last week. And I'm bringing that back to the circle today. And I choose Margie.
Hi all, I'm Margie and I'm here in very hot Sandy, Utah. And I would like to bring into the circle today such a rich sense of gratitude. And I pass it over to Senda.
So I apologize for interrupting the beautiful meditation. I am Shiddea. I'm along the Columbia River Gorge in Stevenson, Washington, and it is so hot. And my life is so full right now that I really just want there to be ease. Ease. So, Sheila.
Good to see you all. Thank you. It's been an unusual day for us. It's warm here in northern Idaho. Not as hot as it is like in southern Idaho, but we will have our 90s and maybe 100 this week. So just revving up the AC and staying cool. Just want to give thanks for gratitude to have this group together doing the work that it's doing. So grateful. And I'm complete in Sharon.
Okay. So I'm here in Washington on Whidbey Island, and it's hot, but I haven't been outside since it started to get hot. So I'm not hot. I'm not going to go outside until it's cooled down, which might be very late tonight or early tomorrow morning. And I want to bring to the circle continued clarity. Okay, so what I want to do first of all is to just synopsis what let's wait for Nancy. Hi, Nancy. We just checked in, and what we have in the circle so far is joy, gratitude, ease, another gratitude, and continued clarity. So you can, place yourself in the circle who you are, where you're at, and what you would want to put into the field. So do you see you're muted, Nancy?
I'm not now. Did you need? I don't know. I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. I just.
Oh, okay. I just said we are just presencing ourselves in the circle and what we have, and putting whatever we want into the field. So what we have put into the field at this point is joy, gratitude, ease, another gratitude and thankfulness, and continued clarity. And so
I see happiness with rainbow. Okay.
Okay, we'll take that. So what I wanted to begin with is just reaffirming what we did last Monday in this call. And we did it under the direction of the crystalline kingdom having Susan and I making ourselves available to them because they ask that we do. And they suggested that there was a plan that they would like permission to activate. And clearly it wasn't their plan alone, but they're part of a planning team. And what the plan was, and it has a lot to do with the concern that when you remove the energy as we are and calling for new structures, which we are, that the old has to crumble. It has to crumble. And I think we've always known that someday that would happen, and maybe thought maybe in our lifetime or maybe later. The old has to crumble. So it's like these skyscrapers, if you will, built and held in place by the domination agendas of all forms. And as the domination agenda energy is removed, and the call for that to be removed is removed, the structure itself will crumble, whatever that means metaphorically. So the suggestion is that they have permission to call all of those forms created from domination agenda energy and call it like a landscape, or we could say the world of the matrix. That would be another way to say it, I think. That the landscape of the domination energy, which really has been attached to our divine light from the beginning and before. So it's been like crushing us, using us, diminishing us. And what they wanted to do is permission to now move that domination energy into its frequency range, which is more true to its nature, which is into the -4th world. And they're using my model. So ours is the 8th world, but it's a frequency world of the divine light and family. This is a negative region, which is the region of those whose agendas are to dominate, use, etc. It's a heavier frequency. So move them and separate them. So now we have like 2 worlds. But the 2 world separation isn't about those who are awake and those who aren't awake, which some people have been thinking. It's about frequencies that are from domination agendas of any level of vibration being moved back to where it really came from, but in the whole landscape or the whole matrix, which then they said that will create the buffer zone between these 2 worlds. And that buffer zone is where the crystalline kingdom have been prepared for these crystalline cities. And many of you have seen them and talked about them in other calls, that these crystalline cities that are rising and becoming activating will be broadcasting frequencies into that buffer zone. And as I talked to a few other groups and we started sharing, what they were getting was that the ley lines literally were being replaced with clear crystalline energy, which validated what we had been getting. I didn't say anything to them about that, but they validated what we were getting. So here we have 2 worlds, crystalline ley lines or buffer zone. And that what they wanted permission to also do is to continue to unplug any attachment from the domination agenda and plug the attachments to any form, to any individual, so that those hooks would not prevent that outsider world from dropping to where it needs to be. And so one group had been told that last Sunday they were going to go and they were going to sever the cords between the pedophilic or groups, systems. They were told to sever the cords, and they go in with a Michael sword, they have their own way. They're severing cords. And when I heard what they were doing, I suggested that it was absolutely part of this plan, and that we could identify their work as a surrogate for the elimination of cords in the whole with the whole system. So what we did then in the crystal broadcasting, if you were here or if you heard the recording, is we activated that program so that two worlds now, or two realities, even two places of putting your effort now exist. And so that leaves us with, what is it that we will be called to do today as crystal broadcasters? And I know for me, and I'm going to go around so that anybody who wants to speak to this can, the impact on me from Monday was a few attachments that I hadn't even known would be coming, I'd be made aware of, that I personally, I think it took me 2 days and a night to working with PTO, the deep six, the absolutely not, feeling it out, doing my own healing, to feel like, because it was like some really subtle little tentacles. And I could have, but knowing that this had happened, I approached it with a different viewpoint, even though the work might have looked the same. So definitely something more major came up for disconnecting me personally, and then as a surrogate for anybody else who might have the same. And also the commitment to speak differently. It's like I am playing on a different game board now. And I'm playing on a game board where I know this is going on. And I'm just disconnecting wherever. That's not my focus. And up here in this world that is now of the divine family, there's still that divisive voices, the struggle that is a residue, a crippling, and how to interact with that, while my main focus is designing which is what we've been doing, designing that world and living that world of wholeness. So that's my update. And so let's go around and kind of, I can't remember the order. Sheila, let's start with you this time and just tag again. So, anything that update you either from last week's work or what comes to you just as we're sharing. Let's open the floor for that, or anything else you want to say. And you'll have to unmute, Sheila.
So I have a couple of friends who are really into the political arena, and things are starting to really implode there. And after listening to your eloquent way of saying the work that's going on, I'm so grateful, because we're going to need that, and it's going to be good. It's going to be really good. So just grateful we're here. Thank you for everyone. Thank everyone for their work and their commitment. I appreciate it. And I'm complete. Margie?
I wasn't on your call last week. However, I took the time to sit and go through the recording and do the meditation. And what I found really profound for me out of that was the connection to grace. There was something in fact, it was an awakening or an understanding that I've been feeling the presence of grace for some time, but I didn't have language to put a name on it. And that really solidified that for me. I was able to actually touch into and feel that sense of grace energy. I've been seeing it for a while and trying to explain it to some of my close friends about this wave of energy that was going to move forward. And it would be the most amazing, empowered compassion that would send a ripple across the multiverse that no one had ever felt before. But I didn't have a name for it. And touching into that gave me goosebumps, even now as I'm talking about it. And at the time when I was sitting with the meditation and seeing this grid light up when I was doing the meditation and feeling presence, and then the recognition that I've been seeing, touching into that for a while now, it was very validating for me. And I'm complete. And let's send it over to Arlie.
Well, my insights are much more mundane. You mentioned Deep Six. I'd never heard of that before. My curiosity and interest is definitely piqued. And the other thing that just gave me such a feeling of happiness was when you said that the work that you're doing on yourself generalizes out to everyone else. And I really like the idea that what we do isn't a one-by-one, person-by-person, but that it does change the world. And I am complete. And Cinda.
Margie, welcome to the world of grace. Welcome. So the energy is really different for me too. It's really, really, really different. And ever since the crystal broadcasters, but then also in the time travel, and I don't know, it's in the guardian circles, it's really seems to be lighter, and I'm being it's like I'm what I'm bringing in, instead of having it feel more like a battle or more like, unacceptable, go away, gone, enough, no more. It's now what's been coming up is very divine. It's sort of like the last sweeping away of it. And what came through in the last meditation for me was to love them gone, to just love them gone. And what was generating that energy was the crystal grid that Sharon was mentioning. And yet it was a grid. There's the grid, this new grid that's around the world, but there's up high, but there's also this grid of crystalline energies that's in the earth that Gaia is pushing up, and she's pushing this energy up, and Grace is flying over it, activating it, and Gaia is sending these waves through the crystal grid of the earth. But the energy is to just love them gone. Love them gone. So it feels like a very different battle, in quotes, now for me. It feels very different. And maybe Grace is the reason why. Okay, Nancy.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here today, and I'm coming into a place of really clear unity with everything that I'm involved with. Even as simple as going to the grocery store for my big social outing of the day and seeing that the things that delight me show up, like seeing babies show up, and talking to young parents today. And I follow my horoscope, and I have for my personal horoscope for over 20 years, and I'm ending a period I've been in since 1980, and it's my my Pluto forming square to my natal Mars, which is really all about principles of purification and power that are demanding expression through my activity and initiative. And the seed thought I keep going back to is, oh, how wonderful. I get to keep asking, what is power in activation? And I'll share that the visualization is simply see myself as a warrior facing a test, which will determine the power and responsibilities I'll be given. Imagine holding a sword while at the same time being aware of the presence of a firm but gentle hand guiding my own hand. And I'll just share that watching a little bit of the physical action that was going on in DC today, and listening and observing, and being a witness to my dad, who served many years in DC, and my mom's buried in Arlington, and just being in the physicality and the energy of it all and watching this, I see this old way. This is the last time we'll see it for a long time. And we're all in this together. And we have this grid work that's working. We will, the past is going to be history as it is. And the now is like fragments, I think, of what we see that's falling away. And it's clear to me that people will be more unified. And it was interesting to me, I'm almost done, it was interesting to me to see that there was a young Navy sailor that fainted while waiting for he was in the carriers to carry the casket today. And it's 95 degrees there today in DC. And I said to my dad right before that, I said, I can't believe those 4 gentlemen are standing there in full dress uniform. It's 95 degrees in DC. I said, I hope they're okay. And I sent out a prayer, and the next thing I know, I see a sailor drop. Now, my dad's retired Navy. My dad said, well, he must have gone out drinking last night and forgot to hydrate because he's in his Navy summer whites. He should have been just fine.
Wow.
I said, Dad, let's just say a prayer for him. And he goes, well, that wouldn't have happened on my watch. And I was just listening. I just had to share it. I'm like, who could have made that up? But many blessings. Thank you for letting me share, because I am an in-the-moment gal, and that's what I like, where I like to be. And I'm really glad to be here today to collaborate with you, because we're all in this together. And thank you. And Sharon?
Okay, thanks. Deep Six is just a code phrase that includes PTO, it includes the new protocol, it includes strengthening the new, it includes the tag and transform. It's just kind of the next level of grab it all and give them permission in that spiritual world to do any out of that needs to be done, but do all of it if it needs to be done. So it's just a code word that encompasses a lot. And so you can use that if you're feeling uncomfortable in any way, pain in any way, you could just start deep six in it and deep six in it. I think in naval terms, it has a different meaning, but I didn't know that. And I just kind of like the way it sounded in the 1990s is when I started using it a bit. So that's deep six. And I also want to clarify that in all of the work that's done under the tag system of transformation, which is what all of the work that I'm involved with is, that when a work is done on whether it's an individual or a group, we are working with the soul level of that manifested form or forms. So we're, so it's not a matter of this person having to even know we're doing it, because it's like this whole prescription, if you will, it's like the doctor going in and handing this huge prescription, all the things that can be done to make this higher and best for the individual is in that script deep six, for example. And so you see somebody who's really uncomfortable in the grocery store, or you see somebody on the street who looks like they're suffering, and you think, what can you do? You can just say, hey team, deep six. And what that does, it takes that whole protocol of healing, of rebalancing, clearing off parasites, keeping them cocooned in the guardian, takes all of that and says basically to their soul and soul team, activate these in whatever time frame and order is best for the person on the ground. So when we say this is a surrogate, the pedophilic model, that when this group worked on it and I joined them in it, that model was used as a surrogate, and all of the things that were needed to disconnect cords, to sever cords for that group was done in behalf of, from a soul level's perspective, a higher perspective, would be done directly. So it's not generalization. It's not a matter, oh yeah, we're in the same energy field together. It's not that at all. It's a very direct, authority decree. So I just wanted to clarify that too. And and it's really interesting because sometimes I forget which call developed which what. So, when you're on these calls and they're all intertwined. And so Grace has been knocking at the door for a long time, and especially Cinda and Susan have been really working and listening. And I just want to say they're in the process of putting together this. The spray is in process that she wanted to spray. We have what's called the Crystalline Harmonic line in Etsy, and those are incredible sprays. It's not about a room spray; it's an essence. And Susan's an alchemist, and you may have heard her talk about them. But this spray is going to be this will be the Grace spray, although it's not called Grace spray, but this is what was created from between Susan and Cinda and Grace, and so this is going to be available as soon as we get it labeled. Well, it'll be available. And the other thing is that it's become very clear. We've talked about this in some of the calls, that what we have here is Gaia, who we've worked with for a long time. That's not been much of an issue, especially for women. Gaia has been like, oh my God, our mother, because it's that basic chakra. A woman's energy comes into the bodysuit, kind of says hello at the feet, but then grounds into the earth. That really is like the second chakra for a woman. So that's really an important chakra. And then the other point that is important and valuable is the solar plexus, which has almost been totally left out and crushed, because it's the discernment point. It's be sensitive, they say the gut. Well, it's follow your intuitive knowing, so that you can say yes to what is good for you and say no to what is not good for you. And that chakra has only been, being awakened up, say, within the last 10 years that I'm aware of. That solar plexus is critical for a woman. That's her foundation. That's her power. That's where she stands. And what I was told is that until a woman in the natural unfoldment, which is entirely different chakra system unfoldment, and system two, that it wasn't intended for the heart chakra to open for a soul in a female body until the solar plexus chakra, the discernment chakra, was solidly activated. So the fact that we have Grace, that heart chakra for a female, the fact that we have Grace showing up so very powerful in the last many months is for me saying, there's enough females on this planet who are standing in their power, not just angry, but clear power, using their discernment, that now Grace can be present. So they've asked that anytime that we see one present, like when we see Gaia present, that we look around. Now, where is Grace and where is Sophia Lilith? So today, when we mentioned that Gaia and then Grace, so look around. Where is Sophia Lilith? Because she's in the mix. There are three. I call them the feminine triad: Gaia, Sophia, and Grace. And then, so Cinda mentioned, like she did just now, she mentioned love them whole. We're talking to the parasitics. Love them whole. Let's move them out with that. And then I got very clearly that was part of the process. The other part was understanding that what they've left behind is a lot of harmed souls. So love them gone and love them whole. Love them gone, love them whole. And so Carol Squire, which some of you have met, some of you may not have, has come up with what she calls a walking meditation. She's of the Sufi tradition. She is a master teacher around the world of that dance, the Gurdjieff dance of the whirlers. And so she's come up with a walking meditation: love them whole, love them gone, love them whole. And I think we've talked her into creating like a little YouTube channel to explain what it is she's doing, and then to do it. So as soon as that gets completed, so amazing, wonderful things emerging from this new, and what can we do to strengthen it, and what are we called to do today in I don't know what, if it's about strengthening, if it's about cutting, if it's about seeing something we haven't seen before. That's going to be for you and your team to be with, and then come back so that we can all hear, witness, and anchor. So are you ready? And I'll allow 10 minutes. Usually it's less than that, but if we need up to 10 minutes, we will. So get your journal and your notes and take your breath. And again, we just affirm the guardian circles that we are in, the teams that we are each connected to, the expansive teams that are now available to us to help be a part of, and even the voice of, the shift and leap from one stuck reality into a reality of freedom. So we invite you who are in the unseen to be with us. Sense the energy around you and the field that begins to open for you. It might be a path to that field. It might be the field itself. Maybe on the planet, maybe off the planet, or in the planet. Just allow yourself to lift and move. Enjoy the company of your team. And when you're complete, we'll meet back here at our home base and report in. So travel well.
What am I supposed to see? And I walked out of the white encasing, can't see a thing. And I was on a ledge, and down below me, there were houses with crystals interspersed between them and a lot of lights. It was inhabited, that was obvious. But there was not what we saw last week in the molasses dripping down, but there was light brown, like smog. So I said, well, something needs to clear that. Isn't there more crystals? And when I looked up, I saw that there was a crystal ceiling, like with the crystal points pointing down. But that wasn't it. They had just been there all along and I hadn't seen it. And I said, well, this brown, very light, hazy smog shouldn't be here. How are we supposed to get rid of it? And a wind came and blew it. And I was like, that's really nice, but now it's just over there. That did not take care of it. What's the point? And what is this? So I was told that the brown mist, the words I got were, it's an imposter. It doesn't need to be there. People think that they need what's in this fog. But that's a bunch of lies. But it's people's need for the, maybe belief system would be a word, or maybe, yeah, I'm going to go with belief system, that the fog represented, the smog represented. And it's kept there by people feeling they need it. This is the way things are. So I said, how are we going to get rid of this? Does it need some kind of different healing? And they said, yes, it does. People have to recognize that it's there. And that's what I got. And I'm done. So Margie?
So as we started the meditation, I saw the grid that I saw last time, circling the earth. But at about the same time, I became very aware of this place that I've seen before. It's very divine. It's a place that sacred feminine energy, and I've seen it, felt it, been there. where the energy of every goddess that has ever manifested on the earth is present. And so there was this sense of the grid at the earth, but all these high vibration, spiritual goddess, feminine energy. And I could see their connection to the earth as I watched. And it was as though those of us who could hold the grid and stand in the buffer zone were each one anchoring, being activated by this energy coming from this very high divine, sacred feminine place. I realized as I was watching that it's not about so much doing as it is being, about how important it is for us to be able to anchor into our own form the frequency and vibration of where we're going. I also was aware as I watched the grid that there were some on the grid that felt more connected to, say, Sophia or to Gaia, but some clearly to Grace. And it seemed like that even amongst those who were being activated on the grid, holding points of light on the grid, they still had different roles and purposes that their heart aligned with. It felt like there was such a profound sense or awareness of the importance of becoming the frequency and the power of the sacred feminine, and to be able to hold that in form, to hold this point of light on the grid. And as we each did that, that the points of light on the grid grew stronger and the web that we had created was strengthened. And that there was energy that would rise from it, and even energy that would filter below it to those below us that would send them that vibration of love and healing, because we are asking for them to love them gone, love them whole, but it all has to do with energy. It all has to do with vibration. And so each one of us are called to hold some frequency that allows that to happen. I think that's enough for me. Thank you. So I think that takes us to Sheila.
Thank you, guys. I just want you to know that each story that you shared is hit me so profoundly. This gathering of females that came together for everything I know. And I want to say thank you for the share, Grace. I went again deep inside myself. It was a deep, again, the cave of the large crystals. And I felt power and the wholeness and completeness, and it felt so good I didn't want to leave. So thank you for everything that you bring to the table. Thank you so much. And Sharon?
Thanks, Sheila. What I got was I wanted to look. I said, what can we do that would be most powerful? And they said to separate. Yes, I said to separate. And so the words were about clear with clean, be very cleanly, with great stability. And they brought in, said to bring in the elements of air, water, fire, and earth. And I could see some of those taking actions according to their elemental nature. And they said, what about creating a broadcasting for the -4th world? Because I do a lot of, formulas and glyphs and symbols, etc. For the future. They said, what about creating one for that world? And I said, what would be the intention? Then they said the intention would be to have from the negative worlds or from the minus worlds to have the retractions, the broadcasting to retract. And so that I could see that part of that programming would be that the disconnect, like if you say hooks, the hooks unhatch. If it's a lock, the lock unhatches. So the very extreme ends would be to create that kind of part of the attachments themselves let go. There's just no way of holding on. And so I said, we can do that and just get that broadcasting into the minus fourth world. And I could see that the attachments could let go, and then they'd start retracting. And they said, do it in stages, in 3 stages. And that's because of the stability. They wanted to be able to say, bring it down and for 3 days and then hold, and then another 3 days and then hold, and then another 3 days. So for the next 9 days, that's what they're going to be doing from my work, is that kind of pulling and pulling and pulling. They said also to give us permission to create, for those who are left, in this world we call the souls of divine families, to have us begin to open up ways for there to be support systems or buddy systems in that world, to keep some stability in this world too, and some learning going on in that world too. And the other thing came up when you were talking about the fog. It's like one of the things that I've never been able to agree with. I don't know if I've ever agreed with it, but certainly not on my game board. And that is this concept within the personal growth community, the New Age community, the metaphysical community, whatever name you give it, that says you have to have fear in order to know love. It's like, I don't buy that. And so that's what came to mind when you were talking about that fog. And I don't think that's the only story or concept that is being energized from a soul's perspective, because we have bought false stories. But that's one that comes to mind. And so the suggestion was, we just, each of us in our own way, activate that the letting go of that, the dissolving of the concept, because it's not an outsider created thing. They created situations in which that then humans make up stories to try and understand, and we have, but it's our creation, and therefore we can dissolve it. So using whatever false concept you are aware of or that triggers for you, to use that as a surrogate to dissolve all of those stories. And let's see where that takes us. So then,
Sharon, what comes to mind as you say that, it seems to me like it's almost like invoking Sophia.
yeah,
Help remove the old and restore truth.
right, to recognize the fault.
Yes.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's because Sophia, initially it was to recognize outsiders, because we had to get rid of them.
Right.
But right, there's a shift in recognizing what's the truth and what's not the truth. That, again, that discernment.
Discernment.
Yeah, very good point, Margie. And
I have something to say too.
yes, Arlie.
When you were describing taking the parasites and putting them down in stages, was there any feeling that you were making them do their own work by calling in the others in a way?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
The last part of my thing, when I said, do we need a different healing here? And they said, yes. And I interpreted what they said as awakening will do it. I laid it on the people, even though we had just decided that one surrogate can clean up everybody. And so that made no sense to me. What if the awakening was making the parasites do their own work, sucking their own shit out of the air and down? What if that's what I was supposed to get? Does that make any sense in what you saw?
Yes and no. That's been going on for quite some time, but we've never had them in the minus fourth world. So we've had them, kind of doing that, but now it's very different. So that's definitely an escalation of that. But also it's that going to the understanding that if a soul creates it, if we create, and we create stories and live from them, right? And so if it's of our light, meaning we created it, it might look like a sabotage, it might look like bad, but if we created it in order to probably be safe or at least make sense of, we created it's of our light, and then we are the ones that call the end to the story. So that's two different levels. Parasitic, yeah, and you're right, Arlie. This is absolutely, it is an expansion of what had been going on with having the outsiders participate and call and help their own come home too. But this other level, I've not seen it before. I've not seen that fog before. I mean, I know it's there, but I've just never seen it in that way. So to me, it's like that makes it so there's more power to it to do something about it. So now the other thing that I want to ask is for Nancy and Cinda. Can you kind of recoup what you said? Because I forgot to turn the recording on when you started, and it was really important. So if we have time, can you take just a few more minutes each? So Nancy and then Cinda.
All righty. Let's see. I kept remembering what you said before we went into the meditation. Love them gone, love them whole. And so as my windshield cleared, I remembered that my own love power is strong. And I saw the crystal love coming out of my eyes. Everything I was looking at, it was coming out and transforming. And I guess it was my ego was saying, "Oh, is that all it is?" And my ego said, "That's right. That's all it is. That's how simple it is." As you walk around and seeing that you're going to love them gone and love them whole. That's pretty much what thank you.
Yeah, so when I was going into a place of deep meditation, I wasn't being shown anything right away, but I kept hearing in the distance type noise. So I followed the noise and I saw an energetic deck of cards being shuffled. And then these invisible beings were dealing these cards. So I never really saw who it was that was shuffling and who it was that was picking up the cards. But then the cards would be picked up, and then instead of a card game being played, the individuals picking up the cards would vanish. And so then the question became, what are they doing? So then I went and I followed, and one group was sewing. And so they were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I really couldn't make out what they were sewing or what they were, putting back together, but I could see the energy of the thread, the infinity symbol, if you will, back and forth as they were stitching and stitching and sewing. And so it was very obviously sewing. And then I heard the again, so saw the dealing happening, and then those people, or those energies, got their cards and left. And so I followed them, and they were sweeping, and they were just cleaning up and putting everything in what do you call those little shovel things that you sweep into, the dust, whatever. And then they would dump it in a dustbin. They would sweep, and they would gather up all the dust and throw it away, and gather all the dust and throw it away. So, and again, I wasn't shown exactly what was being cleaned, but I said, what is going on? This feels like we're cleaning house. And the energy around it was like, duh. Yeah, we're cleaning house. And it seemed like, I'd hear the shuffle, the cards would deal again, and then a whole other group would go and do a different set of chores. It felt very chore oriented. Anyway, so then I woke up, wrote my notes, and then I asked when is this cleaning house energetic cleaning of the house happening. And they said, well, it's happening now through the next 6 months. And so then I asked what's going to happen on the other end of the 6 months. And so they showed it to me, and what was happening then, everything was spotless, but then the brick and mortars were getting built. So there was the brick with the cement and the brick with the cement. And that was happening all over the, like the rebuilding after 6 months. So it was everything, it was all energetic. It wasn't people oriented. It was the invisible, unseen world. It was, they were all very busy, very, very busy. And they had no idea I was there, nor did they care. It was just very, very busy, and a lot of them doing a lot of the work. So.
I just so appreciate the opportunity to sit in circle with women like you, especially through times like this. You know, to be able to hold that beingness, that presence, as we see what's going on here that's really not so great, as we sense or know of the disruption and the pain that it's being caused, that we do not have to turn away, we don't have to hide our head, but each of us can maintain that presence and is committed to doing that in what we need to do that. But we can also send out in our own way energies and blessings and lifting and words and whatever we're called to do in order to make changes here. You know, like we're not just impacted and don't know what in the heck to do, and so we go underground. So let's, before we say our goodbyes, let's just do that. Let's be that presence, that whatever that feels like to you. And then again, direct that energy, cleaning, clearing, new support out in the world. Okay. Until we meet again. So you can unmute yourself and we'll do our high fives and goodbyes and group hugs and all the stuff that we do. Yeah.
Group hug.
I like this one. I like this one. There's a good heart
Oh,
one.
that's nice.
Yeah. Love you guys until we meet again on Zoom, or who knows when in the future we'll meet together face to face. That would be good too. Bye, loves.
That's
Have a
lovely.
great one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.